And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
Hey, I'm Zee Garcia. What's happening?
Today we're looking at Shinobi Clans.
What?
Okay, well there is no doubt. I mean, when you look at this cover, is that blood?
I'm fairly certain that is a whole village worth of blood.
Yeah, and you know what? The cards are very similar. They're like, it has this very cool
Splatterpunk look.
It's not gory.
No, they're not gory.
Is that what it's called? Splatterpunk?
I don't know what that term actually means. But I think splatterpunk is a type of written work.
This is a game in which you are trying to either assassinate or defend famous people in Japan. So you're like assigned to the ninjas to assassinate them or to the faithful soldiers who defend them. It's a card game. Yeah, it's a card game in which you're playing cards secretly, and we resolve them. Let me show you. In this game, there are 5 targets, and there are 5 treasure cards. Each target will show you on the target card itself the value of that target and how much defense it has. So this Ronin here is worth 1 gold if you take him out, and he has 1 defense. This Daimyo is worth 3 gold and has 3 defense. And so you're going to place out 3 of these guys on the board. You'll place out 4 if you're playing a 5-player game. So here we have the Merchant, you see, and the Shogun, and down here the Old Ninja Master, who's worth 4 gold, but he's also a 4 defense. Then a treasure card is placed underneath of them, and these treasure cards are randomized, and they go from 3 to 7 in value. So you look at this, the Ninja Master, if he is assassinated, whoever does that is going to get 9 gold, and if he is successfully defended, they'll get 5 gold. So it's better to assassinate than it is to defend, but it's also easier to defend because they start with 4 defense already. In each of the 3 rounds of a game, players are going to be drawing cards and they're going to be drafting them. Now you might, like for example in the first round, you'll have a certain number of cards placed in front of you and then you draft the rest. You draft by looking at the cards, saying I'm going to keep this one, putting it on your pile, and passing them around the table. There's also an advanced version where you can basically set all the cards face up in the middle of the table and slowly draft them one by one, which is a little cooler if you want to know kind of exactly what cards are in people's hands, but will definitely add a significant amount of time to the game. Once everyone's done, you're going to pick up your 10 cards in your hand, and since you don't have to use all your cards in a round, you might have more than 10 cards if you have some cards left over from the previous round, in which case you need to discard down to 10. And then players will, in turn order, play cards or eventually pass. But before they do that, you have to decide which contracts you're going to be taking out. So each player has a pile of contracts in their color. So I'm going to say, I'm going to attack the Merchant, and you're going to pick 2 contracts, and I'm going to defend the Old Ninja Master. You can do any combo you want. So if in this situation, I can attack the Shogun and Merchant. I can attack the Shogun and Ninja Master. I can attack the Merchant and Ninja Master. I can attack the Shogun and defend him. And, the only combo you're not allowed to take is attacking and defending the same guy. You can't put all your, I don't really care who wins that battle. No, you need to care. So then players and players are going to be playing a card. Now many of the cards are just different characters. This is an assassin. You will play this face down on top of a character to show that they're attacking that person. These have these red attack symbols. So we have the assassin, we have the ninja here, the adept. He looks kind of like a ninja though. And we have the master, who's a 3 attack, and we have this lady here who is a 4 attack, and the grandmaster who's a 5 attack, and then the silent killer who removes the person in the opposing battle slot. We'll talk about that later. There's also people you can play that are defensive. And then there's even like this person here who's going to join the weaker side. So they could be 3 attack or they could be 3 defense. There's some cards like this one you play face up and then you draw a card, and the next card that's played on this stack where the scout is also has to be played face up. So there's different special people like the bomb maker and the poison maker. We'll talk about them in a moment. There's event cards you can play, like here, steal a card from another player's hand, or you can draw 2 cards, play 1 immediately. And then there's meddlers who will change the value. Like here, this Forbidden Lover Secret Lover adds 1 to their defense. This guy adds 2 money to if you assassinate him. And the Master Thief subtracts 2 from both sides. So players are going around the table placing these cards in a stack. The only exception to that are weapon cards. There are many different weapon cards in the game which can give attack, defense, bonuses, or special things. These are going to be played in a slot next to, on either side, or even farther out, on the different characters. These are battle slots. Once everyone has passed, you're going to go through each person and see who's won. And you do that by picking up the stack, turning over the top card, and seeing what happens. If it's a meddler, you just slide it underneath the card. So this old Ninja Master, instead of being a 5 if he successfully defended and a 9 if he's attacked, is now a 3 and a 7. If you draw from the stack someone who's attacked, you place him in the first attack slot. Hey, there's a weapon here, and this reduces the total power of the ninja and weapon in the opposing battle slot by half. So let's say someone eventually got over into this. That's not a defensive weapon anyway, but let's say there was an adept over in this slot. Their power would now be cut in half. And as you turn the cards over, sometimes different effects will happen, and you're going to be forming an attack total and a defensive total. Sometimes cards will make cards disappear. And remember, I talked to you earlier about that bomb maker and the card that the poison. When those cards show up, they can get rid of the card above or below them. So you can essentially cancel a card that someone else has played, and hopefully that's a card that, let's say someone else played a card and you're saying, oh, I think they're attacking that guy, so you put a card on top of it to discard that card. So you play through the whole stack, and eventually the attack has to exceed the defense, and if that happens, anybody who picked an attack contract on that person will get that amount of gold. If that doesn't happen, then the people who put the defensive contract will get that much gold. And you go through each person, going through all these different cards. You then go through another round of drafting, and you do this 3 times. And at the end of 3 times, whoever has the most gold is the winner of the game. Okay, the first thing about the game is I think is that it's very interesting putting all the cards down, and I like it. I like flipping over sometimes a huge stack of cards and resolving it, and it's kind of exciting. Everyone's like, especially if you do it slowly, like attack and defend, and it was like, ooh, ah. Right. It was a little fiddly sometimes, especially with all the special effects or like sliding a card underneath something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the game does have a few rules ambiguities. I have to agree with you there that sometimes you're not quite sure, like, wait, okay, so this weapon, the person goes on top of the weapon first.
Well, to be fair, pass that rulebook real quick.
Yeah.
I will say that they did spend a good chunk of time talking about the different special cards in the game.
They do.
I do like that this rulebook is nicely organized. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, though, there's a question of, now this card, which one goes off first situation.
Right. My biggest issue with the game, and I'll talk negatives first, is that I really found it to be a very sort of ponderous and meandering game. It does not have the feel I was hoping for, which was ninja attack. And it's you play a lot of cards face down. It's a lot of play. It's drafting, okay, which is not a lot of interaction. Not like haha interaction. Yes, you interact with each other, but there's not that kind of interaction. And then you play cards face down for a nice long while, which is also not interaction. It's like saving up interaction for later, right? And then you finally get to reveal the cards, and it's like, okay. And sometimes 2 people keep playing cards on the same character, and then you realize, wait, we're both trying to save him. That was goofy. We keep going back and forth. And we were both doing the same thing, so that's one. That's done. So I almost never got the big payoff I was hoping for. I was hoping for that real big fight. I was hoping that the game would feel like a sneaky, attacking, fast-paced sort of thing, and it's very slow. It's my main detraction from the game. Aside from that, I do enjoy the game. I think it's a neat card game. It does feel different, and I love the artwork in this game. I mean, the artwork is spectacular.
Yeah, I'm with Zee.
In my opinion.
The artwork is good, and the quality is fine. The money's kind of weird shaped. Mm-hmm. But I like it. I don't think it's as slow as Zee, although I wish there were more cards that were face up. I like Zee said, sometimes you're battling with someone and you're not. Now, they make you put the weapons on one side or the other, and that kind of helps kind of indicate what you're doing. but sometimes you're just kind of guessing, and that can be fun too. So I'm not opposed to that. The biggest problem I have with the game is, and this happens more, actually it happens with all the number of players, is occasionally a round is very boring because everyone has decided to assassinate the same guy, or they've decided to defend the same guy. And so there's not any kind of battle. Or it's 4 guys have decided to assassinate him and the other guy has not. And there's no point to it. I almost wish they had some sort of drafting system where you would go through and draft who you were attacking or defending.
Right.
That way you would be forced to be going at odds with other people.
Yeah, it just seems like the game went through great lengths to make sure that everybody had a nice even hand, which is a great idea. The drafting prevents
wonderful.
Just dealing tech cards to everybody and somebody got hosed. But then the second part of that, which is you pick who to attack, who to defend, and that part is random. Might as well be, because I might be attacking someone that everybody else decided to defend. Guess what? I'm not going to win. That's what I mean. That part should have also been somehow drafted or dealt with. The game, as it says on the box, 60 minutes is, in my opinion, a little too long for what the game offers. But I do enjoy the game. I think it's a fun time, and if you're into that, I don't know what's going to happen. What are you doing? No, what are you doing? I'm going to play here. And then finally somebody tips their hand and reveals, puts a weapon on one side or the other, and you're like, oh no! Then yes, there can be those fun moments. A little too long, but a fun game.
Yeah, that's not my problem with it as much. My problem is just sometimes the lack of competitiveness in different rounds. I love the drafting, though. I think it's a decent game. I think it could have used a little bit more streamlining, maybe, and a little bit ways to make it more balanced. But it's a good start, at least. And I think if you like ninjas and the artwork and just the idea of playing cards, there's some interesting ideas here. So I'm giving this a good recommendation, but not great. I think there's other games that do something very similar, that maybe in a better way, like Cheaty Mages and such. But this is a good first effort, anyway. Dice Tower Judgment. Pretty good.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.